Hello everybody, I'm on my way to High Island, Texas for some spring birding. It's a very long drive from where I live, so it's going to take me half the day to get there. It's Sunday, April 29th maybe, I think. I should be able to add quite a few species to my list, at least 20. I'm hoping quite a bit more, but I should be able to get at least 20. Since it's April 29th, I'm very late to the party. People that have seen great birds all week. However, the birding probably won't be great this weekend. I'll tell you why in a minute. And this just, it's kind of a bummer. I'm gonna be like in that movie Cocoon, where Bernie takes Rose to the pool, but it's too late. That's gonna be me. Only it's not that dire. Rather than explain High Island, Texas, I'll just let you watch this voiceover video.
High Island sits on the Texas coast, pretty much at the east end of Galveston Bay. It is a mecca for birders, especially during spring migration. There are many great places for spring birding along the Texas coast, but High Island is perhaps the most popular. It is so named not because everyone there is on mind-altering substances, but because of its elevation. High Island is not actually an island, but a small town which sits atop a salt dome. The elevation of the town, which is only a few hundred yards from the beach, is about 38 feet, the highest elevation of any point on the Gulf Coast from Mobile, Alabama to the Yucatan Peninsula. Because of this, many live oak and other deciduous trees flourish in the area, which is otherwise overwhelmingly coastal marsh. This allows tired spring migrants to land and feed in and among the trees as soon as they reach the coast, so it is quite popular. Not all, but most birds migrating through the area come from South and Central America. Some of those birds will circumnavigate the Gulf, but most will migrate across the water, which is harrowing as these birds must stay aloft for the entire journey, about 600 miles, or they will perish. Most birds will only leave the Yucatan Peninsula in the evening if the weather is nice. If the weather remains favorable, no rain and winds out of the south, then most birds will cross without much difficulty and even continue to fly inland until almost nightfall. However, even if conditions are nice when these birds depart, that doesn't mean they won't encounter inclement weather over the Gulf or along the Texas coast. Most birds take off in the evening and arrive at around noon or a little later the following day. And even when the weather isn't too severe, if the winds are out of the north, the birds will tire more easily and will land as soon as possible. However, if these birds encounter storms and north winds, it can lead to a phenomenon called bird fallout. Bird fallout occurs when birds land as soon as they can, as they are exhausted. It can be a big deal for birders, as birds seem oblivious to people around them, which allows for up-close viewing. However, bird fallout has a hidden side. Although a majority of birds make it across, thousands or even tens of thousands of birds may die in the ocean. The Houston Audubon Society operates 4 bird sanctuaries in the area, 3 at High Island and 1 on the Bolivar Peninsula near Galveston. When visiting High Island, a trip or 3 to Anahuac National Wildlife Refuge and the Bolivar Peninsula for birding is also a must.
Now, right now, there's a storm over the Gulf of Mexico, and the birds will have to fly through it, and that means that there could be fallout today. However, the weather last night in the Yucatan Peninsula was bad, raining, so there's a good chance a lot of birds didn't take off last night. And the peninsula is going to have stormy weather again tonight. And even though we're going to have north winds tomorrow, there's probably not going to be a lot of birds taking off this evening either to get to High Island tomorrow. So what's bad for me is going to be good for what's bad for birders this weekend is going to be good for the birds. So I'll take what I can get. But there's always the local birds that I can't get where I live, that I'm almost certain to see, and I'm really wish I could have got down there sooner. I'd like to get a cerulean warbler. That's a big year bird. That'd be a life bird for me, because that's also kind of like my nemesis bird. I've come so close so many times. I was at High Island one time, and some people said, oh yeah, there's cerulean warblers. There's 2 of them up in this tree right around the corner down there. And I walked down there, and right before I got there, a merlin flew over, and the warblers took off. Ugh. Merlin.
On the way there, I saw an eastern kingbird, number 161 on the list. My first experience bird watching involved an eastern kingbird, and a green heron, and a pink Buick Regal. But I'll make a separate video about that in the future. I was east of Houston around the Lost River area when I added a laughing gull. That's usually the first place I see one on the way down there. I later saw a white ibis flying over I-10 just west of Winnie, then a bowtail grackle between Winnie and High Island. I arrived at Smith Oaks around 2:45 p.m. and I was pleasantly surprised to see the parking lot was about 70% full. Maybe there were some birds there after all. As soon as I got out of my truck, a male rose-breasted grosbeak flew right over my head. That was awesome. I approached the area where they collect the entrance fee and saw quite a few people pointing cameras and binoculars up into trees that weren't very tall. I joined in and immediately saw a bay-breasted warbler, then a black-burnian warbler, and then a magnolia warbler. It was clear this was a small fallout of sorts, and there were plenty of birds around. Within 10 minutes, I added the previously mentioned birds, plus a Tennessee warbler, gray catbird, Baltimore oriole, black-throated green warbler, chestnut-sided warbler, and blue grosbeak. I hung around and took it all in, observing and admiring all the birds. Also, I helped other people locate birds, which was a lot of fun, and it's pretty special when they return the favor. We're all birders, and we're all here for the same reason. After a bit, I entered the woods, but the strong north winds were thrashing the trees about, so I didn't see much. I did, however, visit the rookery and added a roseate spoonbill to the list, number 178. I then returned to the parking area where we were all having so much success and added several more birds. A tricolored heron flew overhead, as did a Mississippi kite and an anhinga as well. In the trees that line the parking area, I located 3 more big-ear birds, a black and white warbler, a yellow warbler, and a female American redstart. Here is a crummy picture. And sometimes that's the way it goes. You either chase a bird and risk disturbing it, or you respect its space and accept crummy photos. Additionally, I thought it would be great if I could get some video footage of all the warblers, but warblers don't stay still, so that didn't work out very well. After a bit of a lull, I decided to drive over to Boy Scout Woods. On the way, I was pleasantly surprised to see a couple of bronzed cowbirds feeding with many other blackbird species. I find those eyes to be so mysterious. Shortly after arriving at Boy Scout Woods, I located an ovenbird and alerted a good-sized group of people, who all shuffled over to see it. One young man in the crowd pointed out a veery nearby. I was so excited, my first life bird of the day. Yay! I hiked around and saw more of the same species I had seen previously, but then happened upon a blue-headed vireo and then a Kentucky warbler, which was feeding on the woodland floor. Here are some crummy photos. A father and son came by and I told them about the Kentucky warbler, but they had already been watching it at a place around the corner known as the Cathedral. They said thank you though, then mentioned they had just seen a cerulean warbler. I quickly went to the Cathedral, but I didn't see anything. I knew that was going to happen though. I mean, after so many trips to the coast for spring birding and always just missing the cerulean warbler, it wouldn't be right if I actually caught a break for once. But then a minor miracle occurred. I could hear the bird's chip calls, and it was calling quite a bit, but it was moving deeper into the woods and we're not allowed to leave the trails or the boardwalk, so off it went. Oh well, I'm still counting it because I identified it by ear, even though I still want to see one with my own eyes someday. I hit the trails again and located an eastern wood pewee, then a hooded warbler, and then life bird number 3, a gray-cheeked thrush. Yay! Then I heard people were seeing a Canada warbler near the photo blind. I ventured down and bingo, another awesome life bird. This is a Canada warbler in this photo, I assure you.
I assure you.
It was as close as I could get, so it's fine with me. Just seeing the bird was exhilarating. Afterward, at a watering feature, I added the scarlet tanager and yet another life bird, a wood thrush. I drove down near the beach and, thinking I would return in the morning, only stayed for a couple of minutes, but added a few birds to the list, including a least tern, brown pelican, and royal tern. Due to unforeseen circumstances, I couldn't stay the night and had to return home. I had spent 16 total hours driving so that I could bird for 3.5 hours. It was brutal, but worth it as I added 34 big-ear birds, with 5 of those being lifers. I drove through Houston right around sunset, then made it through Dallas about midnight. The traffic in both cities was crazy, as usual. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you did. Thank you.